and it's really a alternate approach to, trying to accrue wealth, rather than, just investing in the stock market and, becoming a millionaire when you're 70. And you only have, a few years left to live.
Really? Oh my God.
On average, based on the average.
Let's have a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.
Okay, hey guys, welcome to the PB and Jaisy show, or podcast, I guess, and show. We're going to be doing some recording, some video, and of course our voices. We're excited to have everybody here today, and we have a very, very special guest with us. But first, let's get started introducing our cast. So my name is Sarah Paget. I put the P in the podcast. Kind of sounds gross. Next to me is, actually on this side of the table is...
I'm Bill Stedham, and I put the B in the podcast. Okay. I'm the lucky guy who gets sandwiched between two beautiful women.
Oh, sandwich. Oh, I like what you did there. Okay. And last but not least...
My name is Jaisy, and I am the Ann Jaisy, the jelly, if you will, to the sandwich.
And we're going to address something pretty quickly here because Jaisy is so clever and so cute, and she picked the name for the podcast, and then she drops this huge bomb. She hates peanut butter.
Yeah, she does. I don't understand that.
The controversy.
Would you like to explain?
I felt like I was very vulnerable in telling you guys my issues with peanut butter. And being put on the spot here, I'm just getting a little bit emotional. I just never really liked peanut butter. The story is that one time while eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich, I was punched in the face. And so ever since then,
it's probably somebody
peanut butter's just not
knew in your
for me.
future you were not going to like peanut butter, and they pre-punched you.
Yeah.
It was a pre-punch.
And I had to leave all my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches I brought out there.
I really appreciate you being so
Can you imagine how
thoughtful.
smacky that was? Okay, so we have a great show planned for you today. We have the one and only, the smart and talented, and sorry ladies, no longer available, Lafayette Dennis. So be sure to stick around for our not so believable segment called Tales from the Lockbox. All right, without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Jaisy so we can get into our into Laf.
Laf, thanks so much for being here. We are so excited to have you in the mix.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So the topic thing that we kind of wanted to talk with you about might get a little controversial. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But politics, do they have a place in business, and do they really matter in the large scheme of things? Just right off the bat, like what do you think when you hear that?
I do think there's importance there, when it comes to politics. Some people feel that, it's a bunch of BS, which in certain circumstances, there is a lot of BS in politics, but I think, how our society is run, I think politics is extremely important.
And we're just starting politics, religion, all the things.
So right
here. Hey, I'm all for controversy, so.
So what about you guys? So politics and really in business, I think, like Laf said, I agree. I think there's a time and a place for those things. But what are some boundaries that you've seen maybe where someone has stepped over that line, or maybe where it doesn't work? If y'all can maybe talk on that a little bit too.
So I think one of the things that I agree, politics are important without a doubt. Mm-hmm. So, it's important that we become involved on the national stage and the local stage, and it's important we vote. And it's important that we have an opinion. But I think where people step over the line is when they think their opinion's the only one that counts. And so they bring it into the workplace and they bring it everywhere. And anybody that doesn't agree with their opinion is wrong. And that's where I get concerned because,
I feel like you're in my Facebook page. Like you've seen my thread.
Well,
not mine, but my
people who are your friends. Yeah. Who just have so many opinions.
My friends.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm hesitant to post things on my Facebook thread because of the fact that all of a sudden everybody will tell me how wrong my opinion is, and it shouldn't be like that.
Is this just Ann doing this? Or
Where is this happening? Who is attacking
my
Bill?
wife. No, but it's I was speaking at a conference not too long ago, and one of the people that were there is fantastic, and we're really good friends, but we're polar opposite on the political side of the realm. And I said something, and he was like, he really took me to task on Facebook, and I was like, dude, this isn't the appropriate place for that.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, I hit him. You know?
Oh,
Like
like
in
a
the
like a
face?
punch?
No, hid.
Like peanut
HIDE.
butter.
I
was
understand what
like,
you're saying. Yeah.
good Lord.
Punch the man in the face.
No, I didn't punch
And
him.
I hit him.
You hit him. Okay.
Hid him.
So I will have to disagree with you. We shouldn't punch people that we
Yeah,
disagree with.
that's true.
So Loft, talk maybe a little bit about the method, because I feel like I know a lot of, not necessarily all your political, platforms, but I think you're very vocal on some of the things you believe in. So how do you have a method to how you do that without ousting people? Because I don't ever feel like I need to hide or block you on any social.
Well, I would say first and foremost, the biggest mistake that we made when talking about politics is that we should never talk about politics. I think the reason why we have so much conflict is because we said, we shouldn't talk about politics and religion. But it's like, if we're not talking about these things, then how are we going to learn to
Change
understand, each other's differences? I know for me personally, I don't do it as much as I have in the past, but I really try to understand people's perspectives and try to get my point across in a way that's not necessarily offensive. There's a book that I read called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a good one.
And one of the key takeaways from that book was learning how to speak in other people's languages. Not necessarily learning a whole different language in and of itself, but really learning how to get your point across in a way that people are going to understand. Because if you say it in a way that's brash or offensive, they're automatically going to shut down.
Yeah.
But if you're able to speak it in a way that they can actually conceive a new idea from it or take something away from it, then you're that much closer to getting your point across.
Yeah, that's really important. I know that a lot of people, I've even just muted people who just are constantly posting their opinions and things that, no matter what you say, especially in the political or religious realm of anything, you're going to offend somebody, which I know as with our business, so because we're all realtors, that can be harmful to your business. So you have to be very cautious of, I don't want to post this because, it's going to turn this person off or whatever. But there are certain things that when it gets so big and so heightened where you feel like you have to say something.
Right.
Because if you don't say anything because it feels like it's a taboo subject, then you're just kind of more of the problem.
Right. And I think it's important for people to understand that there are different perspectives, and you can't guarantee that you wouldn't feel or think the same way as somebody else if you didn't have their same exact experiences growing up.
If these mics weren't so expensive, we could drop them. That's good. That is so
There's
good.
a mic drop
Yeah.
moment, but I think the other thing we have to do with politics and religion across the board is quit trying to look for blame. And there's no one in their right mind that would say some idiot should come in and shoot people, right? When we've seen a lot of that over the years. More than I think I've ever seen in my lifetime has happened in the last decade of that. And each time it
And Bill's
happens,
been here a lot of decades.
yeah, I have almost 6. I'm pretty proud of that. I didn't think I would get there. But one of the things that's been kind of weird is, within the last 12 months, if we really look at the last 12 months, we've had several shootings. And when they happened under the Republican Party, it was the Republican Party's fault. And just this morning, I was talking to somebody who, and this was the quote from the individual, "Can you believe how many shootings are happening under Biden's administration?" I was like, whoa, hold up a second. Mr. Biden has nothing to do with this. Whether we agree with him or not is immaterial, and that's not my point of this statement. But the point is, we shouldn't try to blame a political party. We should all try to work together to figure out how do we fix the issue.
Right.
I think everybody, like you said, everybody's trying to blame everybody. You know, it's like you want it to be somebody's fault. And we run across that even in real estate. If there's ever an issue, it's this, you know, it's the fingers pointing at each other. Nobody wants to take any kind of responsibility or blame. So, well, awesome. That was kind of heavy.
Yeah. That was good. That was a lot to digest. But it's also important to hear and important to understand. And how do you figure out someone's language? Like if you're, like what you were saying, if you're coming across someone who's got opinions that are so strong and are kind of squash you down with how what you feel and what you think is right.
That's a good question.
It's hard because, you know, well, number one, I took a psychology class, so in college, so I feel like I'm a psychologist.
And he's wearing glasses, so
He's got the look now, doesn't he?
glasses help you.
But it's reading, number one, and like I said, it's really trying to understand people's perspective. And see why they feel the way they are. If you can kind of get an idea as to how they grew up, in their background, that helps. And as far as we've gotten as a country, we're still, in a way, segregated. So there's people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that have never, you know, gotten the opportunity to speak with someone that's different from them, whether it's, you know, somebody who's Black or somebody who's Muslim. So they've gone their entire lives basically learning about these people through media and social media, to the point where they either become, you know, radicalized or you know, filled with bigotry.
I heard a stat the other day, and I think it was something like 75 or 80% of the world population never moves out of their general area. And you think about that, like you said, if you're only fed a certain thing, it doesn't make it wrong, but you don't have that, either you don't know why you believe the way you believe because you've never been challenged, or you don't even know that other ideas are out there, you know? So you think about that.
Yeah. If you grow up and all you hear is, you know, this person behaves this way. People who look like this are this way. They are, and so that's just the way that you think. Children, that's just what it is. And so as you grow up and you don't even see that, you're not interacting with these people at all, you feel that as a fact. So when there does come a day when you do interact with that person, you automatically come to it with all of these feelings and, you know, apprehensions or anger that really has no basis. You've never met them before.
Yeah, and I can definitely, I'm not going to say I agree with how, you know, their perspective or, you know, where they're coming from, but I can sort of relate in a way just based how, you know, I was growing up, how I was raised and whatnot. And, you know, thinking back, like when I was in high school and whatnot before college and really experiencing, you know, different cultures, like, man, I was sort of a bigot myself, just because of the fact that, you know, when you're raised a certain way, and like I said, whether it's a part of a certain religion or, you know, getting it from the news, it's like, oh, these people are bad or these people are bad or stay away from them. And I don't know, it's kind of like divine intervention in a way as I got older, you know, meeting people with different, you know, sexual orientations and from different religions. And it's like, wow, these people are beautiful. You know what I mean? It's just like, these people are no different than I am outside of whether it's orientation or religion. And I'm very thankful that I went to UTA for sure, because it put me around so many different people. And UTA is like one of the most diverse universities in the country, I believe.
Well, and tell us what UTA is for anybody that doesn't know.
I'm sorry, University of Texas at Arlington.
Okay.
So graduated from there. I met, you know, people from different religions, whether it's, you know, Muslim, you know, Hindu, different peoples from different cultures from all over the world. and just really realizing like, oh man, these people are, just like me, kind-hearted, loving, having a good time. And it's crazy to think that, people that will never experience, what I have, because they will never in their lifetime maybe even be willing to, meet somebody.
Or an opportunity to branch
right,
out. Yeah.
Right. So it's
and you're talking about going from Mansfield in high school, right?
Right.
To Arlington, which is a few minutes away, and your world completely opened up.
It's completely different.
That's awesome.
I went from being one of the only black kids in a lot of my school, a lot of my classes, just because of the fact that, my parents put me in, gifted and talented in, the Excel classes and whatnot, to UTA, where it's just, it's like the entire world in this tiny ecosystem.
It's awesome.
So you really get to learn a lot about everything. And it's disappointing to see, how the media twists things and people, feed off of that and, have their beliefs so ingrained into them that they're not open to new ideas. And for me, looking back, it's definitely, scary in a way that it's like, man, I could have thought this way, about certain people my entire life without having the opportunity that I had.
So you just brought up a great topic for us to do one day, and that's why does the media color things? Instead of reporting the news, and it seems like when I was a kid, now I realize that was a long time ago. But
how did you get the news back then?
Well, they carved
there was
it
a
out
pigeon.
on a stone. Actually, we actually got up and turned the TV channel, and we only had 3 channels. So it was easy. It was only a few places to turn.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, ABC, NBC, and CBS. But the reality is, when I was a kid, they reported, it seemed like the news. Now, maybe it was just as tainted, but it seemed like it was a true report. Today, it seems that who you listen to tells you what their opinion is instead of saying what has happened. It'd be like if I were prosecuting a case back in my old life, that they were all prosecutors trying to convince the jury what to believe instead of saying, here's the facts.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that seems to have changed. And that may be a topic that we want to throw down on the floor one day. And
I like that.
we'll get some people in here from the media and have them talk to us about that. Would be an interesting show, wouldn't it?
Yes,
That would be awesome. Yeah, on that, I saw something that was 2 exact same stories, but one said, someone victimized a young woman, and the other one said it was a 13-year-old girl. So when it's young woman, you think I could be a young woman. I'm
just kidding.
I could be. Someone could say young woman, and they see, someone in their 20s, 30. I don't know how old I am.
Yeah.
And you could see someone that's a teenager, and for it to be a 13-year-old person, it kind of just reading those words puts an image in your mind. So it's words are powerful.
Well, look at the headlines of the Wall Street Journal. I read that every day, and depending on what region of the U.S. you get your Wall Street Journal published from, there are different headlines. And the headline can read the polar opposite depending on where it's published. It's really bizarre.
Right.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think Jaisy's got some questions for you.
So, just to get to know
let's
you a little better,
Okay.
What's something that you wish you knew then that you know now? Like, I would say, what if high school you, because I know that in college you kind of had a big transformation of your thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that. So what would you tell high school you?
I guess I would have told high school me to develop and go to college for writing. I didn't realize that I had, I guess, the imagination and the talent for writing until I started, after college, until I started sharing, my ideas and my writings with people. And they were like, yo, this is really good. And I'm like, really? But
You like me?
yeah. But it's, I really wish
Was this
that.
your mom, or was it?
This is his dad.
One of them. But it's just like.
Wait, do you have more than one mom?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
No, I'm playing.
You didn't say anything was off topic.
I mean, I have other people that I consider, mother figures, but yeah, I mean, I really wish that, I kind of developed that skill. And off subject a little bit, I feel bad for the teachers, just because I know that they're overworked and underpaid, and on top of that, with having the experience of talking to kids and going to the schools and whatnot, it's just unfortunate how they're sort of forced to teach to test as opposed to teaching how they want to teach.
Right.
Like these teachers are so talented in the way that they teach these kids and explain things, and even how they get them to behave. They were saying all these sayings and like bottoms to ground and all of these things, and it's just like, and the kids were listening. But when you restrict them and they have to, pretty much teach for these kids to pass tests, it's anxiety everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It stifles them. I mean, you think about
does.
your personality that's taken out when you say this is what you have to do.
Yeah, and you get a lot of anxiety of, I'm teaching you all of these things, and you need to pass this test to prove that I've taught you all these things and that you've retained all this information.
And for
So
me to
it's
keep getting paid.
It's a lot of weight put on
And it's
one
like
thing.
funding is tied to it, and not every kid learns the same.
Right.
So a lot of kids struggle. But to go back to your question, I really did wish that I would have learned that, hey, you're good at writing. Go and do this or pursue this.
Okay, cool. What are you listening to or reading? What's on your...
Listening to, so as far as
This podcast.
this podcast, number one. Number two, there's a podcast called Earn Your Leisure. And it's about basically, it's two African-American brothers, our friends, that created a podcast together, and they interview people from different backgrounds and different business sectors, really to assist the Black community and people of color on, basically rising up and, buying their wealth. So I really like to listen to that, for sure, just because, I learned things as well from that. As far as books go, I read all kinds of books, whether it's, self-help, educational, books on anxiety, racial issues. I would say one of my favorite books is called The Millionaire, Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. And it's really a alternate approach to, trying to accrue wealth, rather than, just investing in the stock market and, becoming a millionaire when you're 70. Mm-hmm. And you only have, a few years left to live.
Really?
But,
Oh my God.
on average, based on the average lifespan, but really going after, going after dreams, passions, goals, and, hitting that $1 million mark early on in your career. That way you can invest that money and allow that money to exponentially grow
To work for you.
rapidly.
That's awesome.
So
Cool. All right. And lastly, if anybody's wanting to reach out to you, where can they find you? What's your Instagram or YouTube? What you got?
So Instagram, I have two. One of them being King Lofton, which is my personal account, and then I have my real estate business, which is Loft the Realtor. It's just LAF the Realtor. Twitter's King Lofton. Facebook, should be able to find me, Lafayette Dennis. There's not a whole lot of Lafayette Dennises out there, so you should be able to find me out there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lafayette, for for being here with us and all of the wisdom that you've shared with us.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Stick around. Right now, we've got a little segment we like to call...
Tales from the Loft. You know, I gotta tell you, I was thinking about what to do, and I remembered back this. It's a story about squirrels. Y'all like squirrels, right? The little fluffy rats that climb up and down trees and things like that.
Yes.
So I got to tell you, I took over an office back in 2004. So that was about 18 years ago.
Oh,
and
Wow.
that was some time ago, you know, when you say it like that. And I had this great guy working with me. He was my right-hand person by the name of Chuck. And so Chuck and I were getting ready for a meeting we were having with some guests we were inviting in out in our training room. And one of the agents came to me and said, "Hey, Bill, there's a squirrel in the training room." I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Come here and look out my window." And sure enough, in the window of the training room, there was a squirrel, and he was flipping me off. Okay, so, you know.
The squirrel was flipping you off?
Yeah, he knew he wasn't supposed to be
You know
there.
what he was doing.
Yeah,
How
so.
many fingers do they have?
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, it looked like he was flipping me off. So I went and got Chuck, and we walk out to the training room, and that training room was designed to hold 100 people. So we had 10 stacks of chairs, 10 each. And so my thought was, we'll open the door, the squirrel run out, right? No. What happened is we opened the door, the squirrel jumped into the chairs. And so my next brilliant thought was, Chuck, let's just leave the door open. Chuck was like, "Oh no, Bill, I got this." Now, Chuck was a retired master sergeant, or is a retired master sergeant from the Air Force. So Chuck says, "We're going to take the stacks of chairs outside and unstack the chairs." I said, "Chuck, no, we're not."
Where was CCTV?
Well,
I wanna
if we
be-
had this on video, I would be a millionaire. So we is an incorrect statement, because I was like, "Chuck, don't do that." And he's like, "I'm going to do this." I was like, "Okay, at your own risk." So he wheels the chairs out. We had a dolly, and he wheels out all the stacks of chairs. The squirrel doesn't run out of the stack. So now Chuck decides, well, we have to break down each stack. I said, "Absolutely not, Chuck. These chairs are outside. Leave them alone."
Right.
Not Chuck. So Chuck breaks down 9 stacks of chairs, no squirrel. So we know the squirrel is in the 10th stack of chair. Wouldn't you just leave it alone?
I wouldn't
would
be
have.
there. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd have been gone
So,
already.
so here's Chuck. Now, Chuck is the nicest guy in the world, but like he never completed 75 hard. Okay. 75 hard was like not his thing. So Chuck and I have the same body type, which is pear. All right. So here's
Lovely
Chuck.
hourglass shape.
And he starts to take the chair down and said, "Chuck, leave it alone." But I go get a sign writer. Now these are, back then we had huge pole signs. And I get a sign writer that is 36 inches long, 8 inches wide. I've got it in my hand. I'm going to use it to hit the squirrel if the squirrel comes out, right? Because I don't know what to do with this thing. So Chuck's taking it down. He's got 4 chairs done. No squirrel. 5th chair. The squirrel, did you know squirrels like nuts? The squirrel jumps and flies and latches on to Chuck's crotch.
Oh, goodness.
Now, Chuck is a relatively large man who now goes to the ground, and he's flipping around, and the squirrel is attached to his
my
pants. And it's going from side to side, and I've lifted the sign writer over my head, and I'm thinking about coming down, and I realize I'm going to make Chuck Charlotte if I come down. So I can't come down.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, so finally the squirrel detaches, but I look up. Chuck's on the ground rolling around. I've got the sign. I just hit the mic, so I bet I just made a big noise. I've got the sign over my head. I'm fixing to come down, and one of the guests pulled up that was there for the evening, and she's looking out. She has no idea why Chuck's on the ground. I've got a sign I'm fixing to machete Chuck with.
Machete. I like machete.
Machete, yeah, there you go.
Machete.
So there's our Tales from the Lockbox for today.
I love it. Well, we're going to wrap this up, but every time when we close out, we're just going to leave you guys with a little positive note. So
level up.
I found a great quote. Anatole France, I believe, maybe Francais, I don't know. To accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe. So your challenge this week would be to set a new goal, but don't stop there. that's the easy part. So before you put that pen down, make a plan to move forward in that goal. So that has been a great, it's been a great session. Thanks for having us, Law.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
It's been a great episode, Bill and Jaisy. Y'all's input has been great. Check out the show notes for any details and links. And don't forget to rate us on the platform that you're listening to. So this is PB and Jaisy.
We out.
Just had a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.